Did your childhood screw up your relationship with money? Yeah, I said it. I mean, you can know how to budget, hustle hard, and save every cent. But if you grew up watching your parents fight over bills or stress about, mortgage repayments, your money mindset is probably more about survival than building wealth. And here's the kicker, guys. Most of you, most of us are trying to buy property in Australia while carrying emotional debt from when we were kids. That inner 6-year-old, who felt, unsafe every time the electricity got cut off. That happened a lot when I was, 4 to 5, back in Cabramatta. And my parents were working 2 or 3 jobs, the migrant life, That person that is afraid of electricity being cut off when they were young, or the fights over money, that person, he or she that's watching that video, including myself, that person is still running your finances. So today, guys, in this video, I'm unpacking how early childhood trauma shapes our ability to build wealth, especially through property. Because I think the real strategy to break this pattern that I'm talking about today, that doesn't start with just cash or just talk about money or cash spreadsheets and Excels and all that stuff, right? It really starts with healing, right? And that might sound kind of woo to you, healing, that's nothing to do with, rental yields, capital growth, all that, jargon, finance thing, right? But it's true, especially for myself, which I'll, give you more examples later in this video. Guys, real talk, right? Have you ever wondered why some people get nervous just opening their banking app? You might have the Concept app or whatever app you guys are using with your bank, right? That moment before you open it, especially when I was in my early 20s, there's this fear, is it enough? Did I spend too much this week? There's always this, I don't know, this sort of small anxiety that builds up, right? And, sometimes we interpret it as laziness, or it's just a stupid feeling, right? But being 40 years old now, I don't look 40 yet, I think that's trauma, all right? And that's childhood trauma, right? I read a lot about this before making this video, but according to Dr. Gabriel Marty, that's how he pronounces it. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. He says, trauma is not what happens to you, but what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you, end quote. And let that sink in, right? It's not what happens to you, but what happens inside of you that then comes out and manifests into the different choices you make in life. That's how I sort of interpret it, right? And most of us, especially if you're a child of migrants, right? Especially for me, coming from the Vietnam War and then coming here when I was 2, right? We grew up watching our parents scrimp every dollar, right? So frugal, looking at every single dollar, right? Like a bloody 80-year-old every time you spend money, right? Luxury wasn't a thing, right? Sometimes electricity wasn't even a thing, right? I remember when it was 6 years old, electricity was just cut off. What happened? Yeah, we just didn't have enough. So, deal with it for the next 2 days. What? And I also remember, when I was 20, I was working 3 jobs. I don't know whether you guys know, I hustled hard, right? And I still felt broke. I was making okay money, bloody working 3 jobs, right? But I don't think I was financially broke. I feel right now, in hindsight, as I think about this, I was emotionally broke, right? I had this toxic guilt about spending even $15 on a lunch out, right? I thought wealth was for other people, right? Not me, not my family, but other people. At least that's what my dad always say, right? And, that mindset, I think that came straight from my childhood. And it also came a lot from the narrative that my parents always say, especially my dad. He was very negative with money and doing anything with it, right? So just to apply this to you guys who are probably, property investors or first-time buyers who are probably getting a bit cold feet to get into the market, I get it. But I'm telling you right now, guys, you can't build $1 million property portfolio while still living on a $5 trauma script from your past, right? If you're still thinking back then, I don't know whether you remember holding on to money as a small child. I remember I was I think 7 when I had the concept of money introduced to me. I was holding $5. And I was like so scared to spend it. Like, I think that person inside of us, if you haven't healed, like I spent a lot of time healing, but if you haven't healed, I think that person, that inner child, is still running your finances today. So right now, if you're thinking, okay, but Q, I've moved on, I'm working a full-time job, I'm working at some big, fancy firm, I earn decent money, right? Like, so what? Like, I've moved on. Guys, that's the real talk. Let's talk about why you still feel that's still not enough. Like, I feel like after, working in this industry as a mortgage broker for the last 15 years and helping like more than 10, 20,000 people, right? Like a lot of people, a lot of lending, a lot of strategies, a lot of like, different ways to invest and grow your property portfolio. You face a lot of conversation hurdles with people and a lot of, like, I call them mindset blocks, right? And I feel like from that oversight of what I can see from where I am at the moment, I feel like there's this silent epidemic among the first-gen Aussies, right? Like, we're hardworking, we've done the degrees, right? Some of us are the first person to go to uni in our family. Our parents are like, oh my God, my kid went to uni, and they brag about it with their, other Asian parents, right? We experienced the grind as well, going through, school, getting that UAI, trying to, get over 90, and brag about it with other parents' kids, right? But I feel like no one taught us to invest. And it seems like investing is a taboo topic. Like, everyone is still scared to invest. And I believe that we're sort of programmed to protect. Like, our family taught us to protect but not grow, right? And I read a book one time. It's by the money author Lynn Twist. She said something like, scarcity is the great lie, right? Like, we're trained to believe there's never enough, right? And I do relate to that. Like, I still also feel this sense of scarcity. And that's why, I grind. You can see me coming on this channel every day, producing new videos. Obviously a lot of you guys, call me, book a call, business is great, but I still grind, right? There's never enough. And I feel like, I think Stephen Bartlett talked about it in Diary of CEO. He called it like toxic fuel. And I feel like a lot of my drive, 80% of my drive, is from that toxic fuel. And I think, like, for a lot of us, like our parents, that came from their sort of like, escaping Vietnam War mindset. Like, they taught us survival is the only thing, right? Survive, save, but don't trust the banks, right? Don't trust anyone else that tells you, hey, you can get a loan from us, and then you can use that to buy property, and then that property will grow in value, and you get capital growth, and then you can rinse and repeat. Like, don't trust that system, right? Don't take risks, guys, right? And I don't want to say they were wrong in that. I mean, that works when your goal is safety. Like, that works when your goal is like, okay, there's war in this country, there's civil war, we need to escape this war, and we need to go to a new country and start a new life. We don't need to think about investing or growing or all this woo-woo stuff. We just need to get the F out of here and just survive. And I get that, right? But I feel like a lot of us, in terms of our family, have moved away from that in terms of what's happening right now, right? There's no war. But the mindset is still stuck there. Because when it comes to, like, buying property, and I know you guys are like, you always related to property, but that's all I know. That's all I know about property, right? I feel like property is about leverage, right? And leverage is about taking risks, because risk is about taking a loan, committing to it for 30 years, paying interest, making sure you still have the income, making sure that you're still, hustling and keeping that cash flow. And that's a lot of risk. And then with risk, beyond that is the vision, the North Star, which I always talk about when I am talking to my clients, right? When we have these 15-minute or 60-minute consultations. What is your North Star, right? Because you got to be very clear on your North Star. Otherwise, all this risk, it will scare the F out of you, especially with your trained mindset, survivalist programming that you got from an early young age, right? Especially if you came from a war-torn country, right? Like, I remember being 23. Like, I was terrified to buy my first place, right? Because, like, my mom, like, God bless her, she's still alive, right? 83. And she still says it to this day. even on my 8th property that I bought like this year, right? Kept saying, oh, what if the interest rate goes up? And what if you lose everything? Like, just be content with what you have. Like, you already got one when you were like 23. Like, why are you buying so much? Why are you hoarding all this property? You know, like, I don't think she was like trying to sabotage me, right? Because I think genuinely she was coming from that survivalist mindset, right? That never grew into, 2025. Like, she was stuck in that survivalist mindset in the 1900s, right? And I think she was saying that to protect me. But, the bigger part of me that grew up from that old mindset, like, I just tell myself and I tell all my clients, that is her fear. Like, that's my mum's fear. That's your parents' fear. All right. That's never mine to carry, right? Because here's the thing, guys, right? Here's the thing. We inherit their fears. I get it. Let's accept that. But we don't have to inherit their fate. Like, to tell you the truth, if my mum lived the way she lived now and I listened to her, she wouldn't be living in a property that I bought for her, right? She would still be renting from home to home to home to home, right? And that was why I bought her a property, because my dad passed away. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 3 bigger brothers. They're all doing their own stuff. They don't really care. So out of like fiduciary duty, I was the last hope. And lucky I didn't listen to her. Like, lucky I bought the multiple properties. As that enabled me to cash out and then use that to buy another property, which now I am paying everything for her. She doesn't need to pay anything. And she's living in that property, right? So it's good that I didn't listen to her, because by listening to her, what she was scared of, like her survivalist mind, I'm going to have nothing, that would have been the end result. Do you see what I'm talking about, guys? So I don't want to tangent too much, but because I want to do, complete this video and talk about what I just mentioned that I will talk about. But I want to look at how does this fear actually play out when you're trying to buy a home or invest, right? Let's get more specific, because a lot of you guys watch this, bro, like, dude, get to the point. We're going to talk about like how like this trauma makes you self-sabotage. And I'll give you my example, right? Especially with property, right? And if you're watching thus far, this is going to hit hard, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is this unhealed trauma, it oftentimes shows up as procrastination. That's correct. Like, you're like, oh, cute, trauma. I've got a nice job. I'm saving a lot of money. I'm getting married. I bought a nice car. I've got all that migrant story that you talked about. But, so what, dude? So what? Yeah, like, that's what you don't see. You don't see the effect of that trauma that you're trying to like minimize and sweep it under the carpet. That stuff, when I talk to you guys, is showing up in procrastination, right? That is the sign of your trauma. Like, for example, you're over-researching, you people-pleasing your family. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to take risks. Yeah, I'm going to do more research before I buy. When you guys talk to me, you guys trying to people-please me. Oh, yeah, that's really good ideas. Yeah, I think about it. And then I call you in 3 months. Oh, yeah, I'm still thinking about it, right? Like, some of you are even worse, right? You guys are like straight up avoiding the market altogether, right? I know some of you guys watch this video, go, oh, he's talking about home loans. Boom, I don't want to think about it. Don't affect my vibe. I want to watch like cat videos, people singing, people doing dumb stuff, right? But guys, you think you're being responsible, but really it's your trauma coming out and you're basically scared, right? And I read a book, right? Because I did a bit of research for this video, right? The best-selling author, Jen Sincero, something like that, Jen Sincero, look it up, right? She said, you can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. Like, let that sink in. You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one, right? Because, guys, this is my honest truth, right? When I was 25, after I bought my first property, against my parents' will, right? I did it anyway, my first home. I got all the grants and yada yada stuff, right? That was like 15 years ago, right? I went to buy my second property, which is then my investment property, and I was still working in the ropes of like call center, like something related to home loans, but I wasn't like this, like a beast of a home loan broker as I am not right now, right? Like, I had the savings, but I'm telling you right now, Back then, I was like you guys. Like, I backed out, like almost twice. I missed out like 2 or 3 properties. Like, I had the pre-approval, and then I was like overthinking, over-analyzing, analysis paralysis, and I pulled out. And then I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like, yeah, my parents are right. Like, I just should be happy with one thing. That's it. Work a 9-to-5 job. Obviously, right now, I'm self-employed, taking a lot of risks. But back then, it was 9-to-5 job, right? 9-to-5 job, a rat race, right? I pulled out twice, because I listened to everyone's narrative. They said, oh, the market's too volatile. Like, you shouldn't do this because you're taking too much risk. It's a gamble. It's a casino in the property market. And I pulled out. But as I look at it right now, and luckily at that age, for my second property, I didn't listen. I did pull back out. Like, I took, sometimes they say you gotta take 3 steps backward to take 2 steps forward. That's what happened, right? Like, me thinking about that situation right now, I was just scared of becoming my parents. Like, I was scared that if I bought the property, somehow I'll be against the sheep mentality, right? But luckily I didn't listen, right? So all I'm saying from this part of the segment of the video is that when you buy a property, it isn't just a financial decision, right? And a lot of people think, oh, it's just a financial decision, right? 1 + 1 = 2. Not really if you're coming from a migrant background like myself. And a lot of you share the same story, right? I feel like when you buy a property, especially when you just buy your first one, okay, cool, that's your home. But then you go on to buy your second one or your third one, that is more of an investment choice. And that is about taking calculated risks. That part requires an identity shift. And the reason why you need an identity shift is when you recognize that your identity is still rooted in fear and you're still playing small. And that's what I said to myself. That's when I looked in the mirror when I was 25, after pulling out 3 or 4 times. I looked myself straight in the mirror and said to myself, why are you playing small? Who is telling you to play small? And why do you need to listen? And that's when I snapped out, right? So then you guys will be thinking, well, Q, how the heck do you start shifting from that identity, right? Like, how do you stop repeating that trauma cycle that you're talking about? So right now in this video, let's get a bit deep, right? If you're still watching, all right. The philosopher Epictetus, can't pronounce his name, but amazing philosopher, right? But he said something that I don't agree. He said something like, that I don't agree. He said something like, wealth consists of not having great possessions, but in having few wants. And that is sort of like the same narrative that my parents had back then. They are religious, they were Buddhists. So obviously they believed in like renunciation, you shouldn't have a lot of possessions, blah, blah, blah. Read the Dharma, Nirvana, all that jazz, right? But I argue with that opinion by Epictetus, right? I feel like real wealth is when you can go to bed and feel like, yeah, I'm making the right investment moves. I'm growing wealth, right? And especially when you start listening to your nervous system, you're like, I'm not triggered because I decided not to do that. I'm triggered. I'm stressed. But now that I've made the decision to invest, to make that move, I feel at peace, right? Like, I don't know how to describe that in words, but I'm just trying to show you how I feel, right? Because I'm saying, guys, you can't build wealth in a dysregulated body, right? Like, I'm talking about this body. Because I'm not trying to go all woo-woo, because we all have a body. You can always watch our body and scan our body to feel like, how it's feeling. I reckon most of the times when I make poor decisions is when I don't listen to my body, right? For example, you work long hours and you get burnt out, but you keep going, you don't listen to it, you don't listen to red flags, you get sick, and then you make more poorer decisions, right? And you just stressed the F out of yourself, right? What I'm trying to say to you guys is start listening to your body every time you make a financial decision, right? Stop listening to what your parents or family members are saying to you. I mean, do take it with a grain of salt what they say, but it's not the end narrative. It's always about, okay, I'm going to make a financial decision to invest. My parents say, it's scary, blah, 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 market's volatile. But just listen to your nervous system, right? The body you have, and I'll show you the certain steps. But I'm just saying, from me, in terms of me building a property portfolio up to 8, and a lot of clients of mine who are building 10, 20, 15, even 50 sometimes that you've seen in my other videos I talked about, it all comes down to the grounding of where you are at the moment, like living in the present moment and making that sound decision. So right now, guys, what I want you to do, which is more practical than me harping on about all this woo-woo philosophy, right? But hopefully you guys get a lot of insight from my, personal journey. Is I want you to grab a pen, right? Get a piece of paper as well. And here's a healing money checklist that I have produced for you, and you can download it in the PDF below. It's for free. All I ask you to do is give a like to this video, subscribe to this video, follow this video, and share it to your mates, right? That's all I ask for you to download that PDF and use it for free, right? There's no paywall or anything, just download it, right? So I want you to pause this video, grab a pen, or like open your your notes app, whatever, right? Because this part could literally change your life, right? Like, if you ever felt stuck, right? If you felt anxious or overwhelmed about money, right? This checklist, and I did it myself, right? Is sort of like a starting point. It's sort of like, all this woo-woo stuff, like, what am I supposed to do with it? This is all talk, right? This is the talk to the walk, right? And guys, at the end of the day, this is not about buying property. This isn't about, listen to all those woo-woo stuff and I'm going to call Q and he sounds really like a money coach, right? This is not about that. This is just for you to take away and do some grounding and start listening to your body, right? So right now, I'm going to put this PDF on this screen at the moment. I'm going to go through it with you guys, right? So this is the money healing before buying property checklist, right? So number one, we have journal your first memory of money, okay? I want you guys, right, with your pen and write down, ask yourself, when was the first time I felt fear or shame around money? Like, write it down. Don't overthink it. Remember, procrastination is a sign of your trauma coming out. And I can tell you, when you write that question down and you try to answer it, you'll be triggered, right? And then the next question is, what did I learn from my parents or caregivers about wealth or debt? And then write that down. Now, step 2, it says map out your family's money story. So I want you to notice or write down what patterns, sayings, or like attitudes your family had towards money, right? Like, was it scarcity? Was there like a hustle culture that was around the family? Was there like a fear of borrowing? Or were you like, some of my Aussie clients, like very relaxed, casual, it is what it is, kind of thing, right? Write it down. And this is not just for migrants, it's for everybody, right? It's just that I'm coming from a migrant story, and hopefully I don't want you guys to think, he's only like targeting migrants. No. It's for everybody. It's a human history, a human lesson that I want to share with you guys from my own humble experience, of course. Like, I'm not trying to be like Muhammad Gandhi or something like that, right? So then next, step number 3 is learn your nervous system triggers around money. And I talk about that, right? So, because I want to rewire your concept of your nervous system. It's not about when you get sick or you get a flu and you're like, what's my nervous system like? Right? No, we're relating this to money. Money is a very taboo topic in any cultures, especially like Asian culture, but it doesn't limit to Asian culture. It could be like, Western culture, right? It could be, people from the Middle East, right? Everybody has a taboo culture around money, right? So next to the question, answer. Do you shut down after you receive bills? Like, what does your body react? The bill comes in, you open the bill, and do you feel like a short of breath? Does your heart beat a lot? Write that down. Like, do you feel anxious talking to brokers or agents? Like, for example, when I speak to clients, I ask them, like, how you going? They're like, a bit anxious. I was like, why? I was like, I'm talking to you, and you got to ask me all these questions. I'm like, yeah, cool. I am asking these questions because you want to know your borrowing capacity. I was like, yeah, I know, but I feel anxious, Write those things down. Or when you're talking to property agents that are selling property, like, do you feel anxious? Is there like some sort of imposter syndrome that goes on, right? Because I want you to know that that's your body remembering survival. Like, every time you have a bit of a trigger, that's not because of now. That was because of the past. Like, something happened to you in the past that you stored in and you remembered it, right? So don't treat that as failure. Like, every time you talk about money, your hands get sweaty and you're like sweating and your heart's beating, right? Don't attribute that, can't say that word, to failure, right? And then next, number 4, step 4, shift from saving to survive to saving to invest, okay? Stop taking your parents' words as if it's gospel, right? And I'm not saying don't stop listening to them, but take it with a grain of salt. I want you guys to stop hoarding for emergencies, right? I want you guys to just probably write this down or probably stick it on your wall or something like that. Stop hoarding for emergencies, but start stacking for opportunities. Yes, that's right. Start stacking for opportunities. Because there's a difference between fear-based savings and we're focused on wealth-based strategy, especially if you want to end the generational poverty curse in your family and build generational wealth, okay? Which leads to step 5, the final step, right? Choose one micro action this week. The micro action could be just like finishing this video or going back to certain parts of this video and doing the instructions, like, downloading my PDF, going through the questions, sit down with your partner if you have a partner, or maybe have an alone time, throw on some like low vibe music, thinking music, and just like book an appointment with yourself. No distractions, and go through that checklist. And jump in the comments and let me know what was the result of that. Or if you want to, I opened the opportunity for you guys to schedule a strategy call with me. You can either book a 50-minute strategy call or a 60-minute deep dive. Obviously, I'm not a money trauma coach, all right? I'm not trying to do that, right? I'm not going to go, oh yeah, let's look at your mindset. Yeah, oh, let's look at different models. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trained in that. I used to be a life coach, which was very, fascinating. But due to me wanting to focus on being the best mortgage broker in the world, I had let that go, but I still have those skills. Or otherwise, just, finish watching this video. If you don't want to book a call, you can book a call later, right? Or maybe this video might inspire you to speak to a therapist, right? About your trauma, which then you can relate it to money, right? Because I'm telling you right now, guys, right? Action rewrites the story. Action rewrites your personal narrative that you have towards money, right? So guys, if you watched thus far, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully I've covered all the points I wanted to talk about in this video. This video is meant to be very informal, which is what's on my head. I might seem like I'm rambling. Yes, I am in a certain way. But I hope you enjoy this video. Jump in the comments or go to the comment section and let me know how you think. Give me some feedback about what you want to know more about trauma, the migrant story, and how that relates to money and investing, if you guys find this interesting. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next few days as I go back into that property roast, as I roast more of the BS news that's going around in the media. And again, thank you for watching and supporting this channel. I'll see you later.